Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
I'm not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin? After you, Junior.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Multiplex Logged It. We have got a great topic and a great panel for you. Tim Brzakala cannot be here this week, but I am here, and this will be a very fun show. We're covering romantic comedies because Valentine's Day is coming up, so, you know, romance-ish things. Cool. We've got and also I think because Marry Me is coming out, which looks awful. But yeah, Scott, are you going to be first in line for Owen Wilson and Jennifer Lopez?
First in line on Peacock, maybe. That's where all the best movies go, is straight to Peacock. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. I'm actually looking forward to Valentine's Day, not because I'm in a relationship, of course, but because I'll be seeing a double feature of Before Sunrise and Before Sunset at the Alamo Drafthouse, which is going to be awesome. So
that actually sounds super fun. I wish Iowa was that cool. Thomas Scully, you like Owen Wilson and Jennifer Lopez?
Yeah, I do, but together in a rom-com, and there's lots and lots of music and singing and dancing. Maybe I'll wait until it, eventually moves to Tubi in 2 years and everyone forgets about it.
Absolutely. And Payson, I think you're the only one in this call who is actually in a relationship.
Oh.
Are you going to subject Taylor to Marry Me?
It's funny, when we first saw the trailer, Taylor was like, we got to see that to laugh at it. So if we see that eventually, definitely not this weekend, because that's just a stereotype. But who knows? Maybe Marry Me will go all the way till next Oscar season and could get the best song nomination. So
I will jump off a bridge if that happens.
Fair.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the first part of the show. We're gonna go over what the best and worst movies. Taylor is saying it looks very bad.
Yes.
Best and worst movies you'll watch this week. Okay, Scott, we'll start with you. What was your favorite movie you logged this week?
can I go back a little further than a week?
I'm not your mom. Do what you want.
Literally everyone does.
Just checking.
I know.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, I'm bringing this movie up because it has not come out yet, and I want people to know about it because I think the community is going to freak out when it comes out because it's really, really great. But at the virtual Sundance Film Festival a couple weeks ago, I got to watch this movie Cha Cha Real Smooth, which is directed by this guy Cooper Raiff. He made a movie called Shithouse a couple of years ago, which is really good. Yeah, that was wonderful, Scully. But yeah, he's like 23 years old now. He was like 21 when he made his debut. But it's a movie starring him once again. He also starred in Shithouse, but he plays a guy who's fresh out of college and is now like a party starter at bar and bat mitzvahs. And for doing that, he meets Dakota Johnson, who plays the single mom, and strikes up a friendship/relationship with her. It's also kind of just an ensemble piece, though. Like, there's a lot of interesting characters. Also, Dakota Johnson has an autistic daughter, played by an actual autistic actress, who is really, really strong in the movie. And the relationship between the daughter and Cooper Raiff's character is really like touching. So it reminds me, obviously Coda premiered last year at the Sundance Film Festival. I think this movie is going to be like the Coda of this year's Sundance. It's already been picked up by Apple TV like Coda was. And like I said, it's a feel-good movie. It has good representation in it, just like Coda did. But I think it's just I think the writing is really strong, and the way it explores all these different relationships and is great. And I think Shithouse was a great movie. It let me down a little bit with the ending, but Cooper Raiff really sticks the landing with the ending of this movie. So I definitely think people, like I said, I think people in the community, when this does properly come out, I think this is going to be a big movie probably that people are going to talk about a lot, and deservedly so.
I haven't seen Shithouse yet, and I really want to because I've heard good things. Has anyone here
Showtime if you have that?
Has anyone here seen Cha Cha Real Smooth?
I'm not cool, so I don't have a Sundance pass, but I've heard really great things from following.
Anybody can get one. You don't have to be cool.
The number of people who have recommended Shithouse to me is like abnormally high for people who recommend movies to me, so that it's a movie I need to watch straight away. But considering that it's by the same guy, this does sound exciting.
Absolutely. I'm glad this isn't called Cupid Shuffle Real Smooth. Because Kelly would hurt me if that was the case.
I was drunk. I'm sorry.
I'm not even going to apply any context to that. Payson, what was your favorite movie this week?
So my favorite movie I logged this week, it's one I saw in the theater. It's one of my new favorite theatrical experiences, Jackass Forever. I did a big marathon of these movies last week. I know these movies aren't for everyone. I totally get that. Like, they're not everyone's humor. For me, they work. And seeing this movie in a theater with everyone around you just laughing at all the jokes. Ooh, these jokes just hit harder. We talked about a bunch of them last week, so I'm not going to go on for too long. All I'm going to say is there's some really funny shit. There's a lot of stuff with, like, bees that made me, like, hardcore cringe. They brought back, like, the cup test. It's Jackass. Can't really I'm not going to psychoanalysis, but that would be my favorite thing I saw.
All right. I have not seen this yet. I'm probably not going to see it.
You don't need to see it. No.
I've been told if there are certain Jackassy things that sound interesting to me, just watch the clips.
Just watch them on YouTube, yes.
Yeah, watch the golf scene on YouTube.
The air horn golf scene is a universal scene. Like anyone.
Kelly, you seen Jackass Forever?
I've only seen the first Jackass, and that was on a double date, so no one was really paying attention to it. So I never really fell in love with the Jackass films like everybody else. I've seen clips. They're funny. They're just not my kind of thing.
Scott, I don't know. Are you a Jackass guy?
Scott does not seem like.
No, I haven't seen any of them. However, I saw the trailer for Jackass Forever so many times that when we get off the call, I'm going to have to ask, or when we're not live anymore, I'm going to have to ask Payson whether the bear eats that guy, because that's really the only thing I care about is, did the bear eat that guy? Because I've saw the trailer so many times.
No,
same reaction after watching The Revenant. Okay, Scully, what was your favorite movie you logged this week?
Favorite movie I logged this week, I was able to go back to an old favorite of mine, one that is actually in my top 10 of all time. It's Inception. Yeah, this is all-time great film. Nolan directs the hell out of this. I think this is his best effort as a director. This film it's a masterpiece. There's really no other way to put it. Every character is intriguing and has their own kind of own backstory. I think Tom Hardy and Joseph Gordon-Levitt have just some of the best like chemistry between like two not rival characters, but two characters that have differing opinions of each other. And I think that the scene where Levitt is shooting at the adversary and then Hardy comes in with the grenade launcher is legitimately one of my favorite moments in all of film, just because I think that's just such a nice moment of comedy in a very intense and twisted, warped film. And the ending, the whole time sequence with the airport and him going home is one of my favorite scenes ever. I always cry at the end of that film because I think it just puts a bow on absolutely amazing film. So yeah, I absolutely adore this movie. It's in my top 10 for a reason. So yeah.
Yeah, I won't spend too much time on this movie because I've talked about this movie to death. but this is the movie that made me love movies. Like this is the movie that made me fall in love with movies. I love that it's basically an amalgamation of everything, right? It's a little bit of a heist movie, a little bit of a sci-fi movie, a little bit of an action movie, a little bit of a thriller,
tragic romance.
Yeah, it's just kind of got everything in there, and it's great. People will get on Nolan for being too exposition heavy, and that's fair. I don't feel that with this movie. There are other movies I feel it, like I feel it with Interstellar. I don't feel that with this one at all. Like it has a lot of exposition, but it never feels like I'm just being overwhelmed with exposition. I think he makes it really fascinating. I think this is some of his best writing. And yeah, I agree. Best work as a director. Scott, Inception?
Of course, it's great. With the exposition thing, my opinion on that always is, would you rather he not explain it to you, right? Like, when you're going to build a world this complicated with rules this complicated, sometimes you got to just have Elliot Page saying, wait, so whose subconscious are we going into now, right? Like that's one of the more famous moments of exposition from the movie. So that doesn't bother me at all. This movie is more towards the middle of my Nolan list, but we're talking about one of my favorite directors. So I mean, it's obviously like a visionary movie, and I think for all of us, just mind blowing when it came out.
Yeah. Payson.
Yeah, I was 13 when I first saw Inception. And when you're 13, you see Inception, you think it's one of the greatest movies of all time. And then you watch it again, and it's still really, really good. I thought it was going to go somewhere else. No. Okay, fair. I love Inception. I think it is probably my favorite Nolan movie. It's definitely, to me, the peak he has been as both a director and as a storyteller. I think it is the perfect mix of both of his talents. Just all the ideas I still think are just super cool. All the visuals, all the action set pieces. Everyone goes back to the hallway fight, and that fight still holds up to this day. Obviously, it's Oscar nomination day. I still think one of the biggest crimes in the past 10, 20 years, the fact that Nolan did not get a Best Director nomination for this movie, I think is kind of insane. I think this movie is excellent.
So now we will get. Was that everyone on Inception? Yeah.
Yes.
So now it's me. My favorite movie I watched this week. It's a lot of rewatches this week, so I'll pick a movie I hadn't seen in a little bit, and man, this is just one of those rare, just perfect blockbusters. Alien. The original Alien. I don't normally do rewatches on this, but man, Alien is just such a good movie. Like, we talk about a lot of the different, how it's kind of more of a horror movie as opposed to aliens and all the different things. But I also love how the first half hour of this movie is kind of a hangout movie. It lets the characters just kind of breathe, and you get a lot of the dynamics. And you actually, horror writers, take notes. You actually care about these characters before they just start being picked off one by one. That's what makes it scarier, is because these are people we like and we care about. We don't even have to like them. We have to care about them. And that's what this movie makes us do. I love what they do with Ian Holm in this movie. I never really realized how actually good that is. And just the way how Ripley does not feel like the main character when you start this movie. And she just kind of accidentally becomes the main character. And that's great. This whole cast is fantastic. Yaphet Kotto's great in this movie. He's fantastic. He's always great. He's one of the most underrated character actors of all time. He's great. I'll go to Scully last because he's Ridley Scott boy. Scott on Ripley.
The Ridley Scott boy and the actual Scott.
Yeah, the actual.
Yeah, I mean, I have to give it up for my namesake. It's a fantastic movie. I haven't seen it in actually quite a long time. need to rewatch it. Now that you've mentioned it, I should actually do that sometime soon. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you too that like the slow burn nature of it is what I mean. I like slow burn horror stuff in general. I think it's effective because it just makes the horror stuff more shocking when you don't know exactly what is coming. And obviously, this movie has like the one of the most shocking scenes in any horror movie with the very first chest burst. So yeah, it's fantastic, and I don't think the debate is worth having between Alien versus Aliens because they're both phenomenal at what they are, and they're both just completely different.
All right. Payson.
No, yeah, this is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And I think this is just peak genre cinema. Like, this is like one of the better sci-fi movies of all time. I think, like Boatman said, the way how it establishes all the characters and how I can name pretty much every single character and I can say like what their personality type is, I think is really, really like super cool. The fact that it sets up Dallas as like the main character and he's one of the first people to die, you're like, oh shit. Just like Jaws, which came out obviously in the same decade, the way how this movie completely takes its time in showing the monster and showing the big threat, I think is so effective. And my gosh, those practical effects still hold up to this day. I think Aliens is a little underloved in this community. I do think Aliens is a great action movie, but you will never find me saying it's better than this movie. This is, I want to say, my second favorite Ridley Scott movie, and it is absolutely like just pitch perfect in my eyes.
Ridley Scott boy.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. For the longest time, I liked Aliens more than Alien, as hard as to believe, but that was like when I was like 14, 15. But I rewatched both recently, and Alien is superior in pretty much every way. I think Alien is now my favorite horror film ever. It's surpassed Halloween 1978. Both those films do an incredible job of just dragging out every single sequence, just leaving you on the edge of your seat. Like, and it's kind of even better when you rewatch it because you not only do you know what's coming, you just you appreciate how well thought out and how well directed the film is. Like really does a phenomenal job of giving you a moment with like each and every one of these characters. You build a relationship with them and with each other, and like the characters with each other, and then you just kill them without hesitation. So at the same time, you're kind of just stabbing your audience in the gut while building up the villain to be utterly terrifying and all powerful, and that's just genius. The chest burster scene is still great. Those effects are like just for 1979. Those effects are awesome. But yeah, I don't know where this ranks on Ridley Scott for me. I don't think it's top 3, but it might be top 5. I'll have to rewatch Blade Runner and a few of his others to actually get a full comprehensive list, but it's one of his best, and it's a great movie.
Yeah. Okay. So now that's everyone for favorite movie you watched this week. Let's do the opposite. Let's start with Scott again.
Okay, yeah, well, I go to the theater about every single week and see sort of whatever the new release is. And so I had 2 choices this weekend, and we've already established that I had no interest in seeing Jackass. So that meant, unfortunately, I was saddled with Moonfall. And Moonfall is very, very bad. I did not really expect it to be good, but I was hoping that it was at least fun. That's not really what Roland Emmerich does, right? He takes that's the problem with his filmmaking, is that he takes these situations so seriously. Obviously, it would be a very serious thing if the moon was actually falling, but it's not, and it probably won't. So it's crazy the level of, again, seriousness that the performers are giving to just this ridiculous material. There's just a lot of stupid like plot holes in the movie, as you would expect, and then the movie like takes an insane direction when they actually get to the moon, and like basically there's a conspiracy theorist character who's played by John Bradley in the movie, and the movie like is like, yeah, the conspiracy theorist who is like probably like a QAnon dude in real life, he's right about everything, which is an insane direction, obviously, for the movie to take. So that was stupid. Donald Sutherland gets literally wheeled out in a wheelchair for one scene of the movie to give exposition about how the moon landing was all a hoax and how the footage went like black for 2 minutes or something on the moon landing because NASA was doing sketchy stuff or whatever. And then he just wheels back into the darkness and is never seen again for the rest of the movie. Not even the effects or anything are really that fun. It's spectacularly dumb. I don't recommend going to see it even for like a let's laugh at this, because even the laughable moments are few and far between. So yeah, another classic from the master of disaster.
Payson, have you
Yeah.
seen Logged It yet? Or Moonfall yet? No.
Funny story. I was gonna go see it tonight, and then Tim
Ooh.
messaged me and said, "Hey, can you be on Logged It?" And I had to think for a second. Fuck, do I blow Tim off in order to go see Moonfall? And I decided not to.
Good
So
call.
I'll see if I see it tomorrow. So I have a pitch for Moonfall. What if you were to turn this into like a video game? You set it, and this is going to sound very random, over like 3 days, but you can like repeat those 3 days in order to get more progress. Let's say you're in. Okay, this is not going anywhere. Wrong crowd. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Okay, yeah, you spent a long time talking about a movie you haven't seen. Scully.
Yeah, here's the thing. I haven't, but Payson's video game, it'll eventually be developed into a movie, and we'll have gone on to this nice little cycle. But yeah, no, I haven't seen Moonfall. I'm not going to see Moonfall. Roland Emmerich's such an up-and-down director. I mean, I love Independence Day. I love The Patriot. I like White House Down. The rest of what he's done, I'm just not a big fan of.
Yeah. It's been 25 years since most of those movies there.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, Roland Emmerich does not seem like a Boatman director.
No.
He's a one-trick pony.
He's kind of the anti-Boatman.
Really. Payson.
Oh man, talking about bad movies I saw in theaters. I saw one that came out last week. It's called The King's Daughter. Oh boy. So let me tell you a little thing about this movie. This movie has been in development since 1999. Okay? They started filming in 2014. They finished filming in 2015. And then they eventually decided, you know what? This isn't that good. Let's just not release it. Then COVID happened. And I'm guessing the studio needed to fill a slot in the calendar. So they're like, hey, get that movie, finish up the effects, and put it out in theaters. I rarely give half stars. This movie is deserving of a half star. This is a movie about this princess who's the daughter of a king.
Naturally.
And the king finds a mermaid and keeps it in a lab because he wants to use the mermaid's tears in order to grow young. And then the daughter often sneaks into the little place where the mermaid is being kept and sort of like forms like a little friendship with it. The best thing I can describe this movie, not only is it, I think the worst thing is just it's so boring and so lifeless. Like, it's barely even a fun bad. Like, I think the one moment there are two moments I laughed in the movie. There's one part where Pierce Brosnan is just standing at his little, like, balcony, and he's just standing here. And the next shot is just slightly more zoomed in. And the next shot is slightly more zoomed in. And one final time, you get a full zoom in on his face. And it's just like, okay, that was way more dramatic than it can be. And, of course, if you've seen the poster, you see Pierce Brosnan's wig in this movie, and it is sort of gloriously bad. This movie has the balls to sequel bait at the end, because the whole point of the movie is they're trying to... I shouldn't spoil anything, but all I will say is the movie is a... Spoiler alert for King's Daughter. When I put my hands down, the spoiler's over. The whole movie they're trying... Actually, if you guys don't want to hear spoilers, I don't
hear. Well, Scott, do you care?
I don't care. Also, Moonfall has a sequel bait, by the way. I should have mentioned that.
The whole time,
you care. No one cares. Okay.
The whole time they're trying to find Atlantis throughout the entire movie, and in the end, they finally get to Atlantis, and the movie ends.
Okay. No one here has seen The King's Daughter, I assume, correct?
No, but it's 90 minutes, so that makes it better than Moonfall.
It does. It does. I will give you the movie credit. It's short.
That's fair. let's just move on because I don't want to spend more time talking about
Please.
this garbage. Scully, what's your crap?
My crap is a crap that's been around almost as long as you and I have, Bowman. It's Batman and Robin. Yeah.
I think we're speaking longer.
Yeah, a bit longer. Here's the thing: if you you can. This is a movie where you can just laugh, like you can laugh at how bad it is, but there's just so many performances and scenes that are just so cringe and so lifeless. Like there's just a whole scene where it's just Michael Gough, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and fucking Alicia Silverstone. It's just standing in silence for a good 7 seconds, and you wonder if Joel Schumacher just kept the camera rolling just because he was sound asleep and just did not care what was going on. I mean, if you look at all the interviews and the promos they did for this movie, not a single one of them was enthusiastic about the work they did, and it shows. Well, Schwarzenegger's he's fun bad. I think he's the only person who actually had fun with this. Uma Thurman is awful. I legitimately think it's one of the worst performances I've ever seen. Just because she tries to be so grandiose and informal with her performance, it just completely falls flat. George Clooney, I mean, the dude is essentially Bruce Wayne, but without being Batman. So he's a pretty good Bruce Wayne. He's better than Val Kilmer, I'll tell you that. But yeah, this movie's there's just nothing redeemable about it. There's 50 too many ice puns. I have to remember one day. I keep forgetting to count the number of ice puns in the movie. I will do that one day. I just forgot to this time.
See, I've never understood the argument that this is a fun bad movie, because I truly view this as an awful comedy. Because that's what this movie is trying to be. It's trying to be a comedy. It's not trying to be a serious Batman movie. It is Joel Schumacher doing this kind of weird, winky thing to the 60s Batman, right? It's doing kind of a weird meta spoof of Adam West Batman, and that just doesn't work at all. Yeah, it's an awful, awful film. I don't understand the people who say, well, it's a fun bad. No, it isn't. If you think this is a fun bad, can I recommend some other bad comedies like Jack and Jill or
Master of Disguise?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or Grown Ups too.
Bucky Larson.
No! You can't make
Cody.
That's what we call a callback. Hey, Scott. Thoughts on Batman?
I'm not honestly sure if I've ever seen it all the way through. I've seen it on TNT, bits of it before for sure. I'm going to be honest, I probably wouldn't hate it that much. I think I could probably find some stuff to laugh about it in there, but I haven't really seen it, I don't think.
Right. And Payson, did you talk about this?
I have not. This movie's dog shit. I do not like this movie. It is proof as to why the 60s Batman show is 20 minutes and not 2 hours, even though the 66 movie is better than this steaming pile. Mr. Freeze, yeah, I agree with Scully. Probably the only thing that will get laughs just because it's so lazy that I'm just huh, okay. Uma Thurman's awful. I don't blame her per se. I don't really blame any of the actors because you can't really work around a script like this.
I blame Chris O'Donnell. Absolutely, I'll put all the blame on him. I don't care.
Chris O'Donnell's awful. Just everyone makes fun of the fucking bat nipples and everything. Those jokes have been overdone. What I will say is Barbara Gordon is from England in this movie, and she attends the University of Oxbridge, which I can only assume is the combination of Oxford and Cambridge.
I assume what I have all of my headcanon is that this is a super awful school that just wanted to sound fancy, so they just took the names Oxford and Cambridge and combined them and hoped that people would be stupid enough to attend.
Guys,
That's my head.
I have an idea for a new university. Harvale.
That sounds like a CD strip club.
Get him out of my sight.
That
Okay.
sounds almost like my last name. So yeah.
Harvale. Okay, that's
You
me.
sound like a CD strip club. Okay, my worst movie log this week is 2018 Predator. Shane Black is legitimately like one of the best writers like working. He's fantastic. He writes incredible scripts. He's a great writer. I think his directorial track record was solid. And then he makes this steaming turd pile. Like, this movie is absolute garbage. It's not good. Like the only like real redeeming quality is Keegan-Michael Key. He's great. He's having a lot of fun. He's clearly kind of doing like the Shane Black character from Predator, and that works. But everyone else is like meh to bad. And making the Predator a good guy is a really dumb idea. That does not make sense. This movie, and it's a lot of like fringe humor and bad dialogue. It doesn't work. Scott, you seen the Predator?
Unfortunately, no. I wish I had, though, because I would have got 2 points on a trivia question once instead of 1.
Okay.
That's really all that matters to me.
That's fair. Payson.
Yeah, I've seen this movie. It's bad. I remember at like the end of 2018, I don't think I had hated this movie quite to the level that I think a lot of other people I knew. Like, it's a bad movie. Like, I'd say it would be like 2 stars, but like, I know people that hate this movie. The one thing I do remember that I hate is I think I defend the original Predator a little bit more than other people in this community. This movie is if every character in the Predator is essentially Hawkins in Predator, where they're just saying the same sophomoric, juvenile lines that character did, and it wasn't even that funny back then, and it's really not funny now. So yeah, this is not a good movie.
Scully?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the movie the first time a few weeks ago. I mean, I agree it's not great, but personally, I kind of liked the direction that Black tried to go with there being like a predator like who was trying to help out other planets who are being victimized by predators. Like I think that's a very interesting arc that I think would have been a lot better if we had a better script. Because the script is it's terrible. Boyd Holbrook is bad. I do like Keegan-Michael Key and Thomas Jane. I think those two are the only two who I think are actually having a really good time. I don't even want to acknowledge what Jacob Tremblay was doing. I don't even know why Shane Black made the character the way he made him. And Olivia Munn turns into Rambo apparently like halfway through, even though she's a scientist. Just a lot of things just don't make sense. But I do kind of dig what he's going. Like, I can understand what he's trying to go for. It just didn't seem like he had developed the idea in his head enough to make a coherent script. And that's where I think the problem lies in the film. And also a lot of bad performances. The casting was pretty terrible. And you want to talk about sequel baiting? This absolutely sets up a sequel that will never happen.
Never happen. All right. So now we get into what movie did you add to your watch list that you're most excited about? Scully.
Oh Lord, I never add anything to my watch list.
Just pick a movie you're excited to watch. It doesn't actually have to be on your watch list.
The Batman. I'm hyped for the Batman. I've been hyped for the Batman since it was announced. We've seen 20 minutes of this movie in previews and in TV spots, and it's a 3-hour movie. I have no idea what's going to happen in this film. I'm excited. I'm going to go to my theater on March 3rd or whenever it's coming out. I'm going to get the big gulp. I'm going to sit in that theater till my bladder hurts and watch that whole movie, and I'm going to have a great time because Batman is returning to theaters. And we should respect Matt Reeves and everything he represents, because this man, just because he keeps the fans updated on everything that's going on, and he's a fully transparent director, kind of like how James Gunn is, like with his films, is amazing. So I can't wait to see this film. You should not wait to see this film. You should see it opening weekend with everyone else, and we'll all have a good time.
My pick, I'm going to go with Hollywood Shuffle. It's a film from the 80s. It's seen. I'm not super familiar with it, but it's starring and directed by Robert Townsend, and it looks like kind of a satire on Hollywood. And I've heard nothing but great things about it, and I want to watch it. Scott,
I had added a Chinese movie called Goodbye Dragon Inn that I have seen a lot of things about, like on film Twitter and whatnot, by this director Tsai Ming Liang. It's about like the last day of a movie theater, like when on its closing, and like what interactions between the patrons and stuff of the movie theater. So it sounds like something I'd be into.
Peyton.
Yeah, Scott kind of alluded to it. I watched Before Sunrise for the first time last week, and I really liked it. So I'm very excited to watch Before Sunset and Before Midnight. So yeah, 2030. I'm doing the full experience. So 2031 cannot come soon enough.
Fair. Okay. Well, let's now get into the meat and potatoes of the show. What are our picks for romantic comedies? Let's start with Scott.
Okay, I'm going to go for the chalk AFI pick here, though, but it legitimately is one of my favorite romantic comedies, and it is the classic City Lights. I think this is the number one romantic comedy according to AFI. That's why I said that. But yeah, I love this movie. It's my favorite film I've seen from Charlie Chaplin. He's doing his usual little tramp shtick in the movie, but there's a really sweet romance at the heart of it between him and this blind flower girl. And it's it leads to an ending that I think is one of the more iconic endings in movies, and just one of the sweeter endings to a romantic movie, romantic comedy in general. It has great comedy in it as well. There's this whole side plot about where Charlie Chaplin keeps running into this like drunken rich guy and saving him from all these weird escapades and everything. And there's also a great scene where he is boxing, or he's not boxing. He has to fight this. He has to box this much larger man, and it ends up him trying to dodge the guy for a very long period of time. And it's as a lot of Chaplin's comedies are, it has like this incredible choreography to it. I think it's up there with like that famous roller skating scene from Modern Times in terms of like the some of the best like action choreography, however you want to describe it, of any comedy, silent comedy, whatever. And it's a really fun movie. Like I know like silent movies aren't necessarily for everyone, but this has got to be one of the most accessible ones ever. And if you're talking about the rom-com genre, I feel like it has to be included because it is about the romance. That is the central plot. And yeah, just the way that comes to a head at the end is really beautiful. So City Lights, great movie.
Payson, have you seen City Lights?
I have not. I don't think I've seen a Chaplin movie, and I need to.
Scully?
This movie came out like way even before my grandmother was born. What do you think?
Fair. I've actually also never seen City Lights. This is ones I've never seen. I've been meaning to watch it for the longest time. Never watched it. All right, Payson, your first pick.
All right, we're going to be very on brand, and I'm going to be picking Punch Drunk Love. I love this movie. I definitely think it is one of my favorite romantic comedies. The second you told me the topic, this was the first one I hoped I was going to be able to pick. I think the story of Barry Egan, just like before he meets Lena, like, yeah, he's doing okay, like financially, but you see just how like troubled he is. One, with how just like kind of awful his family is to him, and two, just like how lonely he seems. And then just like the second he meets Lena, like one of my favorite things about this is like it almost seems too good to be true. Like, she just loves, like, every single, like, small, like, quirk about him. And you think something's going to turn, and it doesn't. And that's kind of why I love this. Until Uncut Gems, this was definitely my favorite Adam Sandler role. I think he uses all of his Sandler-ness to an effect. Like, he is doing kind of, like, the Sandler voice stuff, but I think it works very well here. One of the small aspects I love that his suit just doesn't fit, like, quite right. Like, and it doesn't even seem like a job where, like, because he's like a salesman, and it doesn't even seem like, he kind of seems overdressed if you see everyone around him. And, I mean, everyone talks about him in this movie, but Philip Seymour Hoffman giving one of the best, like, yelling performances. Just, like, his scene on the phone where he's like, no, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And, just the relationship he has with Emily Watson. Like, one of my favorites is when Barry leaves Lena for the first time, and he's going down to the lobby, and the person in the lobby is like, hey, you know, you have a... Exactly, yes. Put a quarter in the jar. Yes, and this movie is funny. That's the thing. Where was I? When he's down in the lobby and the person calls him, and the woman says, hey, you have a call. And the person calling is Lena, and she says, hey, I really wish you would have kissed me there. And he just goes right back up. You see this whole thing. One a funny scene, he goes down one hall in the hotel, and then you just stay on the shot, and then he just goes the other way, because we've all been that point in a hotel where you take the wrong turn and he just kisses her, and then just, like, going to Hawaii it's just so sweet. And, like, everyone talks about this aspect of the movie. It's so pretty. Like, the color choices in this movie, just how everything just how it, like, slightly flickers off the camera. It's just so genius. Like, I love this movie.
Yeah, Scully, thoughts on Punch Drunk Love?
I haven't seen it.
That's fair. Yeah, I really like this. Punch Drunk Love is this really brilliant idea of, what if you took the Adam Sandler type character, and it's not about, like, changing that type of character. Like, this character isn't that different from Happy Gilmore. The difference is not the character. The difference is the world in which that character inhabits. It is, what if you put that type of character in a more realistic, darker world where not everything works out? And I think that is what is so genius about that movie. Sandler is really good, but I really think it's PTA who knows how to use Sandler. He knows, like, that really Sandler's not the problem with the bad Sandler movies. It's that his movies usually have him as a character in an unrealistic world that is way too goofy and rewarding of terrible people. And in this movie really beats the crap out of Adam Sandler before, you know, he's eventually rewarded. But it's a really nice movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman, just fantastic. It is now probably my personal headcanon that is where Cooper Hoffman's character ends up from
Gary Valentine. I'd love it.
It's a mattress store. Scott, thoughts on Punch Drunk Love?
Yeah, I just watched it for the first time, actually, because it was the last PTA movie I hadn't seen before Licorice Pizza came out. Yeah, I definitely like it. It's not one of my favorites of his, but it's a nice entry in his filmography because, you know, you think about, like, There Will Be Blood, Magnolia, Phantom Thread. These are, like, really heavy movies, and as good as they are, it's not, like, something that's necessarily easy to watch and rewatch. This movie, obviously, is, you know, super short. It's, you know, sweet. It's easy to rewatch, I think, and it just shows what a versatile filmmaker that I think PTA is. And I agree. Like, I think all of Sandler's best movies are the director knows how to use his energy. I think this movie and, you know, Uncut Gems and Meyerowitz stories, like, when he has a real director behind the camera, like, it makes a world of difference.
Don't you dare talk about Dennis Dugan now.
It makes a world of difference, I think, when he doesn't have Dennis Dugan behind the camera. So, yeah, that's my thought on that. But yeah, he's great.
Out of here. No, I'm kidding.
Good choice.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So, Scully, your first pick.
Yeah, I think for my first pick, I'm gonna give you a chance to take the one at the top, but I'm gonna go with what if, or as it's otherwise known, the F word.
That was gonna be my next pick. But
Oh no! Oh god! I switched it up at the end. But yeah, I've seen this movie all the way through now twice, and like every time I can find little clips of it, I watch them because I'm just obsessed with this movie. I think I think it just captures that human spirit of just like when you meet someone and you're just in love with them. Like you just know that that's the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. I mean, and having to like navigate the world that you already live in now that you know that that person exists. I think that's told so well in this film. I think Daniel Radcliffe, like, this is objective. This might objectively be the best performance of his career. I haven't seen like some of his stuff like in the last couple years or so, but he's just incredible. I think his time as Harry Potter, especially in the later films, he was able to really grasp how to capture that sort of internal pain. So I think he's able to use that, but in a much different context here in What If. I think his chemistry with Zoe Kazan is incredible. I think he and Adam Driver have terrific chemistry. Adam Driver giving some of the best one-liners in a rom-com. He's such a perfect foil to Radcliffe's character. I think that's important in a rom-com where you have a more quiet, reserved character and the loud, brash, outgoing person. It's kind of like the Bert and Ernie, if you will. I feel like every comedy needs that kind of dynamic, and it's on full display here. But everything about this film works. Everything from just from the emotions behind it, from the performances. There's this movie just gives off a feeling of like, I wish I could experience that. I think unlike a lot of other films that I've seen, there's not a lot of films that are able to make me feel like that's it. That's exactly the feeling that I wish that I had. And for a film to do that, for me, all the props in the world. I absolutely adore this movie.
yeah, What If is incredible. Daniel Radcliffe is like a weirdly perfect, like, comedic straight man, and he is so good in this. One of the funniest scenes in a movie ever, in my opinion, is Daniel Radcliffe and Rocky Spall in the apartment when Rafi Spall falls out the window. That is like one of the funniest things you've ever seen. It's so great. And Daniel Radcliffe's reaction makes it even better. Adam Driver is like one of the most perfect like rom-com friends of all time. Like just the perfect rom-com friend. I think we've all quoted, I just had sex and now I get to eat nachos.
It's the greatest day of my life, and you're ruining it.
I want more Adam Driver comedies. He is so good in comedic roles. Everyone in this movie is great. Zoe Kazan is basically the 2010s Meg Ryan, like in that just the perfect rom-com actress. Like she is just amazing at rom-coms. This movie's really sweet. I like it a lot. Scott.
Yes, I've seen it a couple times. It's good. I don't like it as much as everyone else. I think that like the Adam Driver and Mackenzie Davis stuff just like takes it out of the real world a little bit for me because they're just like aggressively like over the top, strange, quirky characters, which will work for some people. Didn't totally work for me. There's also like a lot of scatological humor in it, which is not always like my favorite brand of humor. So some of that doesn't always register with me, but I totally get why people like it. It's still very enjoyable. I still really like the central romance between the two characters. I do think that is really believable. That's why some of the other stuff is just like a little distant for me, but it's a good movie.
It's fair. All right. Now we go over. Or wait, Payson, you haven't talked about this one.
No, I have
Sure.
not. I love this movie. I watched this movie on Scully's recommendation, and I have to thank him for that. I think Radcliffe and Kazan are just so great in this. You rarely ever see like Radcliffe like play like just a character this human in a way. I'm not saying he's like bad in the Harry Potter movies, but those are definitely like a different type of movie. Like I just like him playing this type of guy. I think the backstory he has with like, oh, he was in medical school, he fell in love with someone over there, and like that's sort of like stuck in his mind like this whole time. Like Boat said, Adam Driver is so good. I love that character so much and how he just wants the best for Radcliffe, like in every single aspect. And I think setting this the fact this movie is in Canada, I think, is very funny because Canada is just kind of like a funny country. Like it almost doesn't seem real at times, but it's right there, and they're just Canadian. But yeah, this is a very good movie.
I do want to add a point that Eames made. There are couples like that exist. I've met them, and that is like Mackenzie Davis and Adam Driver give a perfect interpretation of what those couples are and their energy, and they are perfect foils to Kazan and Radcliffe. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Okay, now we go over to my first pick, and I'm going to go with a movie I love, one of my favorite movies of all time, a movie I watched recently because it was seasonal. I am going with 1992's Groundhog Day. Or 93, excuse me, 1993's Groundhog Day. I caught myself. 1993's Groundhog Day. This is just an incredible movie. I love the transformation of the character of Phil Connors from just this like giant jerk. Like he's a jerk, but he's a jerk in the Bill Murray way, right? There are very few actors that are as good at just being a great comedic jerk as Bill Murray. Like he just pulls it off perfectly. Like you definitely think, oh wow, this is a dude who I would not want to hang out with in real life. At the same time, like, but he's so funny though, because he is so good at it. He like bounces that perfect line of like just mean enough and just likable enough, and it's perfect. I love how this town feels like a character itself. Like every side character in this town, I love Ned Ryerson, Nancy. I love Brian Doyle Murray as the mayor. He's clearly having a ball in this. I love that they're not even going to show up on screen, but I love the radio announcers. Like they're super fun, and just like this character just getting better by being forced to live this same day over and over again. It's great. And Andy McDowell is just so perfect because she's likable, but like she's not like this like perfect kind of manic pixie dream girl. She feels like a real person. We understand the flaws that she has, but we also understand why Bill Murray is attracted to her, and she's fantastic in this. Scott, thoughts on Groundhog Day?
Great movie. Probably my second favorite Bill Murray comedy after Ghostbusters. I think it's fantastic, and it's a great premise, obviously, and it has inspired a lot of great movies from that. So I love it because of that too, because I think it has inspired a lot of movies that I love. And yeah, I like that the central plot is just about somebody's journey to be a good person. Again, one of the movies that it inspired, that's one of my personal favorites, is Happy Death Day. And that movie is the same thing. So it owes that to Groundhog Day. It's just about somebody who has to, appreciate the little things and the little, weird interactions that you have with people on a daily basis in order to become a better person, become a more compassionate person, which is, a heartwarming thing to see. So it's a great movie. Bill Murray's perfect for it.
Payson.
This is absolutely like one of my favorite movies of this genre. Just one of my favorite movies, like in general. Bill Murray is such a perfect douche in this movie. Like, you were right on point, Boat. Like, the perfect amount of unlikable, but you still are entertained by watching him. And just everyone talks about it, but just the whole arc that his character goes on. Like the first few days, he just has no idea what's going on. And then eventually just realizing, you know what, I'm just going to let every single awful tendency I have just run wild. Like, he just starts stealing money. He just starts getting women. And then he's like, okay, I still can't get out. So he tries to hook up with Andy McDowell. And he's like, but shit, it's never going to get better than that. And then you get the whole, like, montage of him, like, trying to kill himself. And it's like, well, shit, I really can't get out of this. And then he finally comes to the terms of, like, you know what? I'm just going to try to be the best person I can be. And it really is, like, a sweet story in a way. Early Michael Shannon cameo. I'm not sure if it's his first role, but it's, like, the first thing I can think of him in. He plays, like, a couple, like, he plays one half of a couple that runs into Phil in this movie, and I think that's really funny. And, yeah, this movie is just amazing. I got you, babe.
Yeah, Michael Shannon cameo is great. Scully.
It's been a long time since I've seen Groundhog Day. I need to rewatch it. But I remember it being really, really good. Bill Murray is one of my favorite comedians of all time. I think there aren't many comedic actors who can pull off just a consistent cavalcade of emotions like he can. Whereas, like, if it's being like angry or upset or happy or laughing or just in general, like he is in this film, just a big jerk. But you get all of that from him in the span of the film, and I think it just proves that he's one of the best comedic actors to ever live.
Okay, so now we go back over to Scott for your second pick.
All right, I picked a classic, so I'll pick a modern one now. Let's go with Crazy Stupid Love. So I think this movie has one, like, very crucial thing wrong with it that prevents it from being like a perfect movie, which is the very weird subplot about, like, a teenage babysitter giving a nude to her kid that she babysits. But other than that, the movie is fantastic. I just had to get that out of the way. It's elephant in the room, but the movie is practically perfect. Other than that, I think the movie has a real, like, affection for its characters, which I appreciate because, like, Steve Carell is obviously, his character is portrayed as kind of a goober who doesn't really know anything about romance, but he has, like, that one line, right? He has the one line of, like, oh, you're the perfect combination of cute and sexy, or whatever he says. And even though, like, everything else about him is dweebish, like Ryan Gosling, who obviously is the complete opposite and is, like, the smooth hustler and everything, that one line helps him out, right? Like, it ends up being like hey, there's actually some truth in there. Like, the sincerity of Steve Carell's character actually, like, is winning. And Ryan Gosling, I mean, you talked about Adam Driver needing to do more comedies. I mean, Ryan Gosling for me should only do comedies, because him in this and The Nice Guys are just, like, incredible comedic performances. And I'm not even a huge fan of his dramatic work, but I think he's just so great in those movies. He's so good in this. The twist that happened somehow, I didn't watch this movie for many years until after it came out, and I didn't know the twist when I watched it, and so I was like, "What?" when it happens, like that whole confrontation scene that happens at the party, whatever it is that they're having at Steve Carell's house, is great if you don't know what's coming. It's a really smartly plotted movie, and I just love, like, some of the individual scenes. Like, there's one scene where, like, there's the famous scene of Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, like, doing the Dirty Dancing thing, but then after that, like, you expect that they're gonna, like, have sex or whatever, but it ends up at this scene of them just, like, laying in bed and just, like, goofing off, talking for like 5-6 minutes, and it's just fun to watch. They have great chemistry, and I like that it goes in sort of an unexpected direction there. So it's a great movie. The star-studded cast really pays off. Obviously, Julianne Moore, Kevin Bacon, everybody's really great in it. So other than that one small, well, maybe not quite small, but that one glaring sort of oof that hasn't aged well. I mean, this movie came out in 2011. It wasn't appropriate at the time either, but it's fantastic.
Payson.
I actually have yet to see this movie. I've heard very good things from people. I need to see it.
Scully.
Yeah, same. I have not seen this one yet, but definitely I'm going to put it on the watch list.
I basically agree with everything Scott said. This movie's excellent, except for that one thing. I think this movie has one of the funniest scenes of all time. Like, legitimately one of the best scenes of all time, which is the surprise party scene that Scott was referencing. Legitimately, I think one of the funniest movie scenes of any movie ever. I think just makes me laugh every time I watch it. I love that scene. I could watch that scene on repeat. Just an incredible scene. All right. So now we go over to Payson.
Okay, so when Scott mentioned that AFI has a top 10 rom-coms list, I looked and checked to see if my next pick is on there, and it's not on there. And considering this movie, it kind of makes me feel like I might be stretching here. Would you allow me to pick The Apartment?
Payson, I'm not your dad.
Okay, The Apartment is one of the greatest movies of all time, and it almost kind of transcends the rom-com genre in a way. Like, when I'm thinking about romantic comedies, it's not the first one I think of, but then I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of the best ones of all time. Jack Lemmon as C.K. Baxter is one of my favorite characters. Like, he just wants people to like him, and he just wants to be in a certain place. And I honestly do kind of relate to that. Shirley MacLaine is giving one of the best performances. She is at such a terrible time in her life and just in such a terrible situation where she clearly does like this one guy, but she's also found herself in a way where she's also with someone that she shouldn't be, one, with how he's abusing his power, and two, because he's obviously a married guy. And just the way how you see how CK just is okay with people walking over him, as long as if he gets the respect he thinks he's getting, even though those people totally do not respect him. This movie is very funny, but I think anyone that has seen the movie knows how dark this movie gets. It gets into some heavy places. Obviously, when CK comes home and he finds Fran almost at the brink of death because she took so many pills because she just couldn't take it anymore. Fred McMurray is such a great asshole and slime bag. And I mean, the ending is one of the greatest endings of all time. Shut Up and Deal might be my favorite closing line in movie history. I have to think about that. It's probably not my favorite, but up there with one of my favorites. Totally deserved its best original screenplay nomination win. Totally deserves its best picture win. I love this movie with all my heart. Don't love it as much as Redshaw, but still an incredible film.
I don't think anyone will love this movie as much as Redshaw. Scully.
Redshaw loves the movie not as much as I personally love Redshaw.
Fair. Scully.
Yeah, this is what I avoided picking because I thought that you were going to pick it both. But yeah, I love this movie. Every time this movie's on TV, I kind of have to watch it however much is left. It's so well made. Billy Wilder directs the hell out of it. I just love a lot of these individual shots that we get of the different characters. It really puts it into perspective who they are, and kind of what's going through their head. And he puts it in a way that where you can kind of read the minds of all the characters and what they're thinking. And I think everyone is giving great performances. I agree. McLean is my personal favorite. I just think she's playing such a broken human, and I think whenever I see somebody playing a broken human, you kind of just respect them even more because they are putting all the emotions out on full display. They are showing that their life has just led nowhere. They're showing that every like they're thinking that every decision they've ever made is the wrong one. It's very relatable emotions for a lot of people. And I think Shirley MacLaine is able to accomplish so much just by just looking off into nothing, like these blank looks that she gives Sheldrake, Baxter, or pretty much every character she interacts with. It's because she's such an empty human being inside. She just doesn't feel whole. And you kind of fall in love with her and Baxter's relationship as he kind of makes her feel whole again as the film goes on, and vice versa. So I'm just astounded as to how well made the film is. One of my favorite rom-coms ever, and yeah, this is an incredible movie.
Yeah, I love this movie. One of my favorites of all time, in my top 20. Shirley MacLaine, you guys all said it. She's incredible in this.
The fact that she didn't win an Oscar is insane for this movie.
She's fantastic. Jack Lemmon is super funny in this, but every moment that makes you laugh, there's like this just hint of tragedy behind it. It's a really deft performance. It is such like just so. It is so. I think that is such a difficult thing that Jack Lemmon has to do in this movie, and that he never really gets like a giant like Oscar-y I'm weeping moment. Like he doesn't have like his Viola Davis crying scene, right? He always kind of has to be on, which I think is what is so brilliant. Is like he's always like almost hiding it. That little bit always seeps through, and you can tell this is a guy who is about 3 seconds away from tearing up, but the tears never come. And that's great. Wilder, I love the way this movie looks. Wilder is able to make like this building look like the office building that Baxter works in. Just looks so soulless, but also at times make it look so full of life. It is these grand contradictions, and I think that's where the movie exists: is grand contradictions. Okay, Scott.
I feel less bad because everyone else hadn't seen City Lights. I've never seen The Apartment.
Oh, fair.
I'm
Hey,
sorry.
that means you get to watch the movie for the first time, and
I know, yeah. I look forward to it. I know I'm going to love it.
All right, Scully.
Oh, I'm debating between a more personal pick and a more objective pick. Let's see. You know what? Screw it. I'm going with the personal pick. I'm going with 1998's The Parent Trap.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm way higher on this movie than everyone else, but I'll tell you, the romantic stuff behind this film is just so subtly well done. It's incredible. Well, first of all, it's Nancy Meyers, who I think does rom-coms really, really well. I think that's just having like I think that you can break this film up into two parts. There's the part for the kids with Annie and Hallie at camp, and then there's the part with the adults with Elizabeth and Nick. And I think that like as you grow older and you watch this movie more and more, you start to like the Elizabeth and Nick portions a lot more. And I think just one of the best scenes is when they reunite for the first time in 12 years, when he falls into the pool and then like she sees him fall in the pool, and she's like shocked that it's him, and then he's like. And he's shocked as well, and then like they just start talking. But what I love, I think most, is that Nancy Meyers is able to integrate like just little moments of humor into these scenes. Like then you have Meredith coming in, and there's just this confusion part about how everyone knows each other. I think that Lindsay Lohan helps this a lot in a way. I mean, she uses her childish charm to kind of soften the ground for everybody, to prepare them for the heavier romantic stuff that comes later. I think the best scene is with Elizabeth and Nick in his wine cellar, and he's showing her all the wines he collects, and then he shows her like the one that was served at their wedding. And then there's this little moment where they're about to kiss, and then a car pulls up with Martin and Chessie, and she pulls away, and it's like shakes my head, and she just shakes her head. And that, like, when you watch that kind of breaks you, because you put yourself in Dennis Quaid's shoes, and you're like, fuck, like that was my moment, and I blew it. And then the ending, where in the very ending, I won't spoil it, but you can probably guess what happens. Is beautiful. I think it's a great mixture of everything that came before it. Lohan kicks ass, and everyone else is just doing a phenomenal job. And this is just a feel good movie. You can laugh, you can cry. I call it, actually, it's a pretty good hangout film as well. There's just so many great little moments in the film for everyone. It's one of those perfect family rom-coms that you can watch just with the whole family.
Right. This is, I don't think of this movie as a rom-com, but you're not wrong. Like, it's basically a rom-com from the perspective of the characters who aren't the romantic leads, which is actually an interesting idea. I don't know if that makes it a rom-com, but like I said, we don't disqualify picks here on Logged It. I think that, if you're calling it a rom-com, it's a real good rom-com. There's so much focus on just the sisters aspect of it that I don't know if I would really call it that, but the stuff that works in this movie does really work. And this is just a super charming movie. I love all the stuff, the camp. It gets real fun. I don't think there's enough with the actual two romantic leads interacting is, I think, the biggest thing to kind of set it back. But still, it's a good movie, so I'm not going to encourage it. Scully or Scott?
Haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I did like it then. So that's all I have to offer.
Fair. Pacer?
Yeah, I also haven't seen it in a while, but I know how much Scully really likes this movie, so it does make me want to rewatch it. I think what Scully said about Lohan is so true. I think she is so charming, and she totally carries this movie, and you believe that it is two different people when you watch them. I always found the summer camp scene as a kid like so much fun, and like that poker scene is about as thrilling of a movie as a scene you will see when you are that age. Like, it's awesome. I remember when I was young, I really hated the woman that Dennis Quaid's character is dating at the time, and I found when she gets that lizard in her mouth, I'm like, fuck yeah, lizard bitch, take that lizard.
Blake.
But yeah, Nancy. Wow, I just realized how bad out of context that sounded. But yeah, Nancy Meyers really did kind of.
Good in context.
Yeah, Nancy Meyers really did sort of have like a lock on like the studio romantic comedy, so it's nice to have one of her movies on the list. And yeah, this is a good pick.
Yeah. All right. So now we are back to me, and I'm picking a film that it's definitely a romantic comedy, but it also is it's a little bit of an anti-romantic comedy. It's a little bit of a romantic comedy. You know what I'm picking. I'm Kaleb Boatman, and I'm picking 500 Days.
Oh, I did not.
Oh,
okay.
wow, really?
It's also on brand for you, so yes.
I don't know what Payson thought I was going to be picking. But...
a certain person by the name of Shalbert Smokes. But I talk about that movie so much. I don't talk about this one as much, so I want to talk about this one. I love this movie. There are a lot of criticisms to this movie, and I think this movie gets Fight Clubbed in that I think that people see Tom Hansen as a character you are supposed to like and agree with everything he does. No. Tom Hansen does a lot of terrible crap in this movie, and that's the point, is that's the whole speech that
comes at the end of the movie is the realization that Summer was not a terrible person. She just isn't, necessarily that person. I think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel are both really good in this movie. Summer is like, I know Summer gets tagged with like the manic pixie dream girl, but I almost think it's kind of like a commentary on that. And I think the expectations versus reality sequence is genuinely one of like the finest sequences in the movie. It is just such a well edited, well done sequence. I think there's a lot of fun little moments. I like the Ringo debate. I like the kind of stylistic interview segments, and then just the different forms this movie takes, and the nonlinear structure. I think really works. It's a great movie. Scott.
Another one I haven't seen in a while. I definitely liked it at the time. I would be interested to revisit it though, like with, some of the criticisms in mind, I guess. The only thing that this movie, the only way it stands in my memory right now is that my friend, one of my good friends in high school, loved the movie up until the very end, where Joseph Gordon-Levitt says, that the girl's name, or that the girl introduces herself as Autumn or whatever. And my friend thought that that was just like the stupidest thing ever, and that it ruined the entire movie for them. So that was kind of a dramatic take, but that's like my lone memory of this movie. But like I said, I liked it at the time. I would like to revisit it sometime. I'm not the hugest Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan, but I almost picked one of his movies, 10 Things I Hate About You, also. So.
Sure. Payson?
You're going to hate me. I have yet to see this one.
Oh, I don't hate
Okay.
that.
And
not seeing The Apartment is worse than not seeing 500 Days of Summer, but I didn't hate Scott. So
very true. I was actually planning on seeing this. Yeah. Okay.
I've seen this film, Beloved Groundhog Day. It's been a long time, so I really don't remember a whole lot behind it. But I remember enjoying it. I probably wasn't old enough to like appreciate all there was behind it, but I remember enjoying it the first time. So I'm definitely due for a rewatch.
Okay. So now we go. We've got 8 picks. Need 2 more. I'm just gonna go with Scott and Payson because they were the first 2 people here. So Scott, 1 more pick.
Okay, I'm going to pick a truly random movie here that probably no one's heard of, but nowadays rom-coms kind of live on Netflix. They're putting out them very frequently, original ones. Most of them aren't very good. However, I'd like to recommend one that I think is very good and is very charming, and that I have watched multiple times. It's a movie called Candy Jar.
Not where I thought you were going.
Had you typed in Set It Up? Because that was the other one that I
That
was
is
about to
absolutely
pick,
what I typed in.
yeah, I could have gone with that one too. That's the other one I really like. But Candy Jar, I want to recommend because again, I don't think people have really heard of it. But it's a movie about these 2 high schoolers who are on their high school debate team. It's actually my second favorite high school debate movie because Rocket Science is even better. But they are like these very overachieving high schoolers who are like obsessed with getting into Ivy League schools. But even though they go to the same school, they're like huge rivals because obviously each one of them wants to be like the top person on the debate team. And also their moms, they're both raised by single moms. Christina Hendricks plays the mom of the girl, Lorna, and then Uzo Aduba plays the mom of the guy. It turns into a really fun movie because they have to team up to compete in the state debate competition, and obviously they hate each other, but then that things are going to change over the course of the movie. It's really likable characters. Jacob Lattimore and Sammy Gale are the actors who play the 2 leads. And it's an interesting world in which to set a romantic comedy. I mean, I did like mock trial speech stuff in high school and throughout college, so like I know this world pretty well, and so that's one of the reasons I think it appeals to me. But you don't see a lot of movies about this type of world, and so I like it. They get the debate stuff really right in the movie too, like down to like them all starting their arguments by going, is anyone not ready? Which is like what you say in debate. But anyway, it's a fun movie. It's a fun setting. Helen Hunt is in the movie as playing a guidance counselor. She's obviously really great. Also, the principal of the school is played by Tom Bergeron from America's Funniest Home Videos, which is very random, but yeah, fun. This movie's just really sweet and charming. Again, it's way better than your average Netflix rom-com, so give it a chance.
That's fair. Anyone heard of this? Payson?
I have not.
Scully?
Sounds interesting.
No.
All right. I also have not heard
Check
of
it out.
Okay. That is 500 Days of Summer quote.
Fair.
All right. So now, Payson, you want to bring us home?
Absolutely. We talked about Zoe Kazan earlier. We're talking about her again with The Big Sick. I love The Big Sick. Just Kumail Nanjiani just telling the story of how he met his wife, I think is really sweet. The relationship between Kumail and Emily, how this romance starts in like as you're watching it, you're kind of like, dang, this is going pretty fast, and then you're like, oh man, just stuff just doesn't work out, and then the big moment happens where if you haven't seen the movie, I won't spoil it, but something happens to Emily's character that kind of puts her out of commission for the movie, and then it's really, you're just kind of watching like Kumail like kind of get his life back together. He has incredible scenes with Emily's mom, played by Ray Romano, and Holly Hunter. I think both of them might be the standouts of the movie. I love those two characters so much. I think probably one of the more famous jokes from this movie is when Ray Romano is talking with Kumail and just said and makes the 9/11 joke. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And also, like, I think the scene that's not talked about enough is when Ray Romano's character tells Kumail just like the moment he realized how much he loved his wife. And it's like, wow, most movies of this like genre wouldn't go there, and I think that's really, really cool. And just like the scenes where you're with Kumail's family and how his family wants him to have an arranged marriage, and just how he doesn't want to have that, but like the movie doesn't cast judgment on that in any way, because you see how his brother had an arranged marriage and how he's doing great. Kumail's character just doesn't want to do that, and I think this is a really great movie. I think it's a very adult movie. It was nominated for Best Original Screenplay. You look at the class of Best Original Screenplay in 2017, it's one of the most stacked like categories like ever, and this movie is incredible. I really love it.
All right. Yeah, Scully.
Yeah, I've only seen clips from this, but like it's definitely on my list of rom-coms to get to, because I know I probably would really enjoy it. So yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I love The Big Sick. This is a movie I didn't like, or I liked the first time I saw it. I had the opinion that the middle of the movie was great and the beginning and the ending were not. Basically, I thought once The Big Sick is over, the movie gets not great, because I didn't like Kumail and Kazan for whatever reason. I don't have that opinion now, but that is an opinion I held at one time. I really like them together now. My only real issue with this movie is I can't think of the actor who plays him, but I don't like Kumail's friend. I think the friend, like the best friend, is just too stupid. Not Bo Burnham.
Bo Burnham. Okay.
Yeah, not Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham's fine. Bo Burnham's doing like a douchebag comedian role, and he's great at it. Bo Burnham's very fun. But the friend, I think he's kind of annoying. He brings the movie down. Not a good rom-com friend. You want a Zoe Kazan movie with a good rom-com friend? What if got a good rom-com friend? This movie doesn't have a good rom-com friend. But Ray Romano and Holly Hunter, man, They
good.
steal this movie. They are just fantastic. I love the scene where Camille gets heckled in the comedy club, and Holly Hunter is there,
So
and
good.
she just goes off on the guy, and it's great.
Was Hunter nominated for an Oscar for this? Am I crazy?
No, she wasn't.
Okay,
She was
Life
not,
is
yeah.
unfair.
Okay, very true, very true.
Okay, Scott.
Yeah, really enjoy it. And like I was saying with Candy Jar, it's it's familiar stuff, but it's in a unique setting. Like I like seeing the world of stand-up comedy explored. Yeah, that heckler scene is probably the best scene, honestly. You just don't see a lot of movies about that in general. And romantic comedy that is in and around that world is good. I think it also resists the urge to be super like cheesy and schmaltzy given the premise where it could have been. But instead it just comes off really sincere, and yeah, all the performances are great. So I like this movie a lot.
Okay. So now that is it. Our 10 picks were City Lights, Punch Drunk Love, What If, Groundhog Day, Crazy Stupid Love, The Apartment, Parent Trap, 500 Days of Summer, Candy Jar, Big Sick. Now we just have one thing left. We talking about the Maltese Falcon. Payson, you talked about it last week, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh, you talked about it last week. Scully, you watched the Maltese Falcon, or did you forget? If you forgot, that's fine. You were last minute in it.
I was called in to do this show about 4 hours ago.
That's great. You were last minute.
I really wish I would have time because this is
So I have seen the movie. I did not get to rewatch it just because I got out yesterday, but I have seen the movie before. It's a little overrated in my opinion. Like I think there are better film noirs out there. Obviously, I think there are better Humphrey Bogart film noirs. I think The Big Sleep is a far superior movie to this. For me, I think that the romantic chemistry between him and Lauren Bacall in that movie is just off the charts. Also, William Faulkner wrote the screenplay for The Big Sleep, which is crazy. And that's why it's so great. But yeah, I just don't know that I think the mystery here like grabs me that much. I like that the characters are somewhat interesting in Mary Astor, and it's a decent ensemble, but I think it's just missing like that spark for me that like something like The Big Sleep has. Now it has been a few years since I have seen it, and I would have watched it if I had had more time to do so. And maybe if I'm on again, I will have more time to watch it. But yeah, I don't know. It wasn't my pick in the poll for this month. I'll just say that. But it's still a good movie. Like I get why it's acclaimed, but there are just better examples of this for me.
All right. What would you give it out of 5?
I give it 3.5 stars.
3.5. Okay. So that concludes our show tonight. Thank you for watching. Next week, we have adventure movies. And the week after that, we got best movie soundtrack. So let either myself or Tim Brzakala know if you want to be on those shows. Thank you to everyone for watching. Thank you, Tim. You were here in spirit. So thank you to Scott Harvey. Thank you to Payson Johnson. Thank you to Thomas Scully. Thank you to everyone at home for watching. This has been Multiplex Logged It. See you later.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening,